here. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the Stamp Anything YouTube channel and another episode of Fanny Friday. If you're new here or new to this channel, hi, I'm a design team member and I post content specifically for YouTube. And I am here every Friday with an episode of Fanny Friday where I am using stamps from the latest release. And then once a month, I share the newest release previews with you. So in today's video, we're going to be using Tiffany, Believe in Yourself, who is from the October release. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you how you can color using crayons, baby oil, and cotton swabs. No Copics allowed today. So if that's something you're interested in, don't forget to subscribe. You will find links to all the Stamp Anything's social media in the description box down below. You're going to want to follow the Facebook group, Faux Show. You're going to want to sign up for the newsletter, Faux Show. So yeah, anywho, that's it. Let me head over to the craft table and I'm going to walk you through this really fun slimline card using some of the new products, and we're going to color for less than $3. Let's head over there. Get into the main event, I thought I would share with you how I store my stamp and dies from Stamp Anything. These are CD storage pockets. Do you guys remember those from back in the day? CD, DVD. And I put the die on one side and the stamp on the other. I've done it this way because my other stamp storage is like big. They're like the 4x6 or the bigger ones. And I was like, that's just, they're going to get lost. So I actually store these separate from my other stamps and dies. And this is how I store my stencils. So it's just a cheap piece of cardstock in the pocket, but this is a 6x8 album from Simple Stories, and these are 6x8, 6x6 page protectors. I don't remember which ones, but they go with that size. So we're going to start with our background first, and I am using Moon Rock and the cobblestone, what is this? A stencil. Because I wanted this to look like a castle. So initially my idea for this card was to turn Tiffany into Rapunzel, and I struggled and I struggled and I struggled, and I'm like, you know what? She doesn't have to have hair all the way down. She can just be a princess in a tower. So she's a princess in a tower. And I knew that I wanted a castle look, and I mean, I've never seen a castle in real life. I mean, I haven't been out of the United States, and we don't really have those over here. But from what I've seen on TV, some of them are made out of stones. Fun fact though, I'm obsessed with Tudor England. I swear I am reincarnated from that era. Okay, main event. So I'm literally putting down crayon. And since I want her face to not be quite as dark and harsh, not necessarily harsh, but dark, I barely lightly colored anything on it. You can easily blend it out, but it's really hard to take it back. So for her face only, I am starting with the lightest color. And all I've done is I've just put down my crayon. I've blended it out with the Q-tip, and literally I'm just dipping my Q-tip into the lid of the baby oil that has just a little bit of oil in it, and I'm just rubbing it out. And here you see me picking up the crayon from the paper rather than taking the crayon to the paper for her hands. And that's because her hands are so teeny tiny. There's no way I would be able to get a crayon this fat into that area. So you can either direct to paper or direct to image, I guess you could say, or you can pick it up off a scrap piece of paper. And you can go back in, you can add it, etc. You're going to want something behind this piece of paper because it's an oil. So it's not like Gamsol that will dissolve. By the way, you can use Gamsol on crayons as well. Gamsol just helps kind of, not necessarily melt the wax, but kind of helps you like spread the wax. So it works the exact same way. But it's, you can get it at the Dollar Tree, whereas Gamsol is not quite as inexpensive. So I knew I wanted her hair to be pink, and I have a lot of pinks. I have the 64 count box, I think is what my husband No, I had to find it on Amazon because he went looking for a big box of crayons. And I don't know if it was the time of the year that he went or whatever, but he's like, I can't find any crayons. And I'm like, what? What? Wait, are we talking the same language? Anyway, so for the colors that I want to be more vibrant, I am going direct to paper, and you're going to want to start with the darkest color because you're literally just going to touch that color and you're going to blend it outwards. So I'm touching the darkest pink and then I'm pulling it toward the middle, and it basically blends itself for you. It is such a fun technique. You can use this with crayons. You can use this with the Crayola colored pencils. You can use baby oil with your Prismacolor pencils. At the end of the day, I feel like a lot of times we as people who intake social media and intake coloring videos, etc., from, these wonderful crafters, we feel like we have to invest a ton of money to get beautiful results. And I'm just here to show you that you don't necessarily have to. Are Copics fun? Am I going to give them up? But every once in a while, I like to pull in a technique like this. I mean, it's so fun. It's so easy. Anyone can do it. If you're a teacher, I wouldn't do this in below third grade, but if you're above third grade, this would be something easily fun. You can talk about the science behind it. There's so many ways that you can incorporate this. And again, you can go to the Dollar Tree because you don't even need Crayola for this. You can use the cheap crayons that don't color very well on their own, but they will blend out beautifully with this technique. And again, you can use Gamsol or you can use baby oil. You know what I mean? So for her dress, I'm doing the exact same thing, and I am literally only adding color to the folds, the pleats. And it's hard to see, I apologize, but I'm just kind of turning, rubbing in a circular motion. These are the pointed cotton swabs I picked up off Amazon, but I'm just kind of pulling it outwards, and I'm not adding any other color. If you add color, it's going to make it a little bit darker, and I wanted it to be light and bright. I wanted highlights, and you can see here that you can get darkness, you can get highlights. And again, crayons and baby oil. Who would have thought? If you want to see more of this technique, I actually have a reel not on my Instagram page. I have a short on my YouTube channel, but I also have a card video where I show me coloring in depth. And I will leave that linked in the description box down below. If you didn't know, I am the Jolly Fat Elf. Maybe you've heard of me. Maybe you haven't heard of me. I don't know. So as I mentioned, you can add color, but it's really hard to take away. So you're going to want to add color where you want where it's going to be the deepest, where you would put your shadows if you're coloring with Copics, etc. And then you just want to kind of work your way to the lightest. And here you can see I'm picking it up, so you can put it direct to paper, but you can also pick it up off a separate sheet of paper. If you guys want to see this technique again, just let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to show you again. Like I said, I'm not giving up my alcohol markers, but I just love the color, you guys, seriously. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but when my husband and I very first started dating, I ended up in the hospital. Imagine that. And he was in Dallas, I was in Oklahoma City, and he came up and he's like, what do you want? Or what do you need? I was like, I need a coloring book and some crayons. I was like, I need something that will calm me down because I was so stressed out. And it was the first time he met my family. And I was out having tests done all day. And I was like, the last guy I saw was at 6:30 and it was an ultrasound. He's like, you seem a little stressed. I'm like, that's because my boyfriend is in the room with my mother for the very first time. And I'm not there to play mediator. So yeah, there you go. Fun fact. Good times. All right, so then I am going to be calling her done. Like I said, you can keep going in. I kind of went in with a little bit of white to just add a little bit more of the highlights in. But yeah, look how blended and beautiful it looks. I know it looks a little bit weird here, and that's only because that it's still kind of wet. It doesn't dry down completely. It's an oil, right? So that's why I'm like, you want to make sure you put something on the back or behind it because it does seep through. And here I am picking up the color from the paper to add a bit more depth under her hat and around her hair. I felt like it needed a little bit more of that shade and the shadowing. And again, just picking up from the paper to color it in. I just love this technique so much. I love it so much. So I am going to bring in a few gel pens. I have a purple one I'm going to use. I have this glaze pen from Jelly Roll. Is that what it's called? Moon? Oh man, I don't remember. Oh, I brought in a white one. Wait, I have the hardest time with white gel pens. So I found some paint pens, some fine tip white paint pens on Amazon. I'll report back if I like them. I've only used them once. So far, so good. But yeah, I have the hardest time with gel pens, and it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how I start them. It doesn't matter how I heat them up. It doesn't matter which manufacturer it is. I just really struggle with the white ones. So I'm just using some random sparkly gel pens that I have to color in the horn. And I'm like, what is going on with the purple? So I'm actually going to take off the lid. This is off camera. I apologize, but I'm going to take out the ink well, and I literally blew into it to push the ink down into the tip. So there's a tip for you. Ha, see what I did there? Okay, now that she's colored and her horn is all very sparkly, I'm going to go ahead and add some Nuvo shimmer pen. And oh, I forgot to mention at the beginning, you want to stamp either in a pigment ink or a hybrid ink, like the Stamp Anything ink pads. You cannot do this with a water-based ink. It will smear everywhere. Okay, so I decided that I was going to create a kind of window with the stained glass stencil. So I am going to be doing this on vellum. This is another way that you kind of want a pigment or a hybrid ink. Well, not necessarily a pigment ink. You could do this with alcohol markers. You just want to make sure that you're not smearing this. So yeah, but I'm just doing a small area because that's all I need. I do end up taping this whole entire vellum sheet to the back of the cardstock, but yeah, I will have all of the supplies linked in the description box down below, including all of the colors. When did I do another? What was the other card I did that was kind of rainbow? Was that Mel's video? I don't remember. I used these before. I do remember that. So I will have everything linked in the description box below. Don't you worry. And let's have a small giveaway. So I have some duplicate stencils from Stamp Anything, and instead of sending them back and said, hey, keep them and do a giveaway. So let's do a giveaway. So in the comments down below, let me know if you've ever tried the crayon technique. Let me know if you've ever colored as an adult who's a crafter. Have you ever used crayons in your card making? Or if there's another supply that a lot of people don't think of that you use in your crafting. So leave a comment. I will leave this open for 1 week until Nick's video goes live next Friday, and I will announce the winner in that video. So you'll have until probably Wednesday. I should say Wednesday. What date is that? Let me pull up my calendar. Wednesday the 19th, because I will probably do the voiceover on the 20th, and that way I can announce the winner in that video. So you guys have it on Friday, open internationally. I'm just going to throw a few in the mail. So yeah, there'll be one winner, but this will not be the only giveaway we do over the next few weeks. Okay. All right. So I am bringing in a piece of white cardstock. We're making a slimline card. I like to cut mine to 7 by 8.5 and score it at 3.5. And that's just because I don't have to do any weird cutting. I've mentioned that before. The Mel one I did make bigger, but I think I mentioned in that video, I prefer to cut them like this. It's just easier. They all still fit in a standard size business envelope, number 10 envelope. So holding up the castle I realized that the castle was a whole, like a quarter of an inch, almost a half an inch, no, probably a quarter of an inch. There was a margin of white, and I was like, well, it's kind of weird that this castle is just floating in a white space. So I went ahead and just did a very, very, very light amount of shading on the card base, just so it didn't look like it was, just this thing floating in the atmosphere. So I am playing with the layout and trying to decide where I want Tiffany. If I want to use the planner box, I knew that I didn't want to use the shutters, or there wouldn't really be enough room on this card for the shutters. So I left them to the side, but I was like, this needs something. I felt like it was missing something. It's like, I feel like it needs something to ground it, something. And this, sometimes I'll get this way and I'll take a picture of of it, and I'll think about it, and I'll look at it, and I'll move it around. And so, yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned before, I think I have. I am not someone that makes samples. So I literally turn the camera on and craft until it's done. So I film with a camcorder that is continuously plugged in to a outlet, so I don't have to worry about charging a battery or anything like that. I get about 5 hours on my card, and I just sit down and go. So there, I slowed it down so you could see them on Starbucks, even though this was like at night. I shouldn't have had coffee that late in the day, but what are you going to do? Okay. So this is a castle, and castles don't have fresh new wood unless they're fresh new castles. And even then, back then they didn't have the mills and stuff that we do now that you can sand down and plane as easy as we can now. So I'm using some of the Moonrock ink on this dark piece of chocolate cardstock, and I did that to make it look a bit weathered. And I actually really do like how that looks. It's not easy to see on camera, and it's not easy to see as much in the pictures, but up close and personal, you can definitely see that it is something that is weathered, or is supposed to look weathered. So I'm going to get that glued. I use the Stamp Anything glue pen. I find myself using that a lot. So now I'm just trying to decide if I want Tiffany in, because my thought again was she's Rapunzel, she's in the window, she's letting down her sweet hair, fine hair, or long hair, whatever the line is. I haven't watched Tangled in a few years. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want her out of the window. I thought that was really fun. And maybe she's a unicorn princess. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have to be Rapunzel. She can just be her really own cool self, because she believes in fantasy. Believe in fantasy. That is what we end up putting on this card as the sentiment. So I went ahead and adhered the window box to her after kind of finding out where I wanted it. And then I just cut off the excess that hung over the edge, because it would look really weird if her feet were hanging out. That would be a whole different genre. That would be more like gore or horror or something. I don't know. Are you guys watching Saturday Nights with Kevin and Ann, where they're doing the Halloween spooky digitals? Oh my gosh, they're so adorable. I know you're like, Misty. They are adorable. Can't help it. Now listen, I don't watch horror movies. Like, I've watched 2 in my adulthood. One of them was The Ring, and the other was the Amityville Horror. And both of them terrified me. The Ring more than anything, because at that time I literally lived in the middle of nowhere, and I watched that movie, and then it was like 12:30 and like in the morning, and I was trying to drive home, and it was literal the middle of nowhere, and I was like, oh my God. And then the Amityville Horror, I was on a date, and he had the best time. I had the worst time, but he had the best time. But I can remember watching Poltergeist. I'm 44, by the way, so that'll let you know when this was. But it was when the one with the old man came out. Was that 3? I don't know. That one scared me the absolute worst. Sorry, I stamped the sentiment, and I'm going to cut that out. And here I'm going to cut out the fantasy out of blue glitter paper, and then the outline in brown. And this is where I'm hating my life, because I forgot to use my double-sided glue sheets. Another thing I just picked off of Amazon. So I'll report back on those too. Anywho, so we watched that and it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. And my mom's like, hey, will you go get this out of the car or whatever? And I was like, where's the flashlight? And she's like, what are you talking? She's like, what do you need the flashlight for? It's like, I'm scared. And she's like, Misty, it's daytime. I was like, I don't care. Give me the flashlight. I was like 9. It's like, yeah, no more for me. Okay. So I at first thought I was going to use the heart puzzle die. And then I was like, no. So I ended up trimming it down instead. And then I just wanted to make sure that I had enough room to adhere it down. And I'm just trying to even it up. Because if you didn't know, I say this all the time, I'm crooked as a jaybird. Like, seriously crooked. It's a problem. My poor friend, when we taught in the same, we taught in the same building, and then we switched schools. Like, I went to a different school and she came and she's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm about to put up a bulletin board. She's like, how about you let me do it? He used to drive her little type A teacher brain up the wall because everything I put up would lean a little bit to the right. But I lean a little bit to the right. My right leg's about, I don't know, half an inch shorter than my left leg. So yeah. Okay, so I got those adhered, and now I am adding some tape on the back of the word, and I'm going to get that adhered. I didn't take in account that the end of each side is going to hang over. Again, this will still fit. You'll still have plenty of room to go into a standard size, business envelope, number 10 envelope, I think is what they're called. So you don't have to worry about that necessarily. But I was like, why did I put dimensional adhesive on the back of this word when it doesn't need it? And then I'm going to go ahead and get that adhered. Sorry, that's kind of off frame, but I'm literally just taking off the backer sheets of the adhesive. I like to leave these little gaps where it's like, what is she doing? What's going on? That way I have time to tell my story. That way you're not missing a whole bunch and I can tell a story. And there you can see me taking off the excess foam tape and kind of moving things around and then pushing some of the foam tape in so you can't see it. And then comes the adornments. And maybe I have 1 or 2 bags. And it just sent me a shipment. She's like, Misty, did you ask for all of them? And I was like, yeah, I like them. Those are my favorite. So I'm bringing in blush. And it's right in the beginning of my brain and I can't grab it. But again, I'll have them all linked in the description box down below. So I'm going to go ahead and put just 3 of those on there. And once I do that, that's it. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I really do appreciate you. Again, make sure you enter the giveaway question and either leave me a way to contact you, email address, Instagram handle, or be on the lookout for comments when this ends next Wednesday at, let's do 6 p.m. Central. And yeah, so anyway, and it's a hidden giveaway, so I'm not going to write that anywhere else. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to follow all the social medias and check out the supplies all in the description box down below. I'll see you guys next week for another one. Bye for now.